All right, what's going on, guys? I am Bear DeGidio, and we are back with another very special episode of the JAXXON podcast. I'm sitting here with one of the greatest co-hosts of all time, one of the greatest fighters of all time, regardless of the fact that he's dressed like a strawberry today, maybe even a Shirley Temple. He's 50 Shades of Red. We are sitting across from one of the greatest MMA coaches of all time, Jason Parillo. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Parillo.
Jason, you gonna let him disrespect me like that?
I have a hard time listening to it, but I just feel like I truly want to believe from the bottom of my heart that it's all love.
I want to believe that too, but I think a lot of times it's hate. I think he be hating on me because I be coming in here looking so fresh and so clean, and you know what I'm saying, he look like he got a blind stylist.
If that's really how you want to start off the podcast in front of a legend like this, a very special guest of ours, very special friend of the JAXXON house and Santos studio, if that's really how you want to do that, that's up to you. But you better come correct for the rest of the interview.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I think Rampage gives you so much love by just letting you fulfill that ego. Yeah. Just make you feel strong and tough.
He does. He always tries to give me a little too much love. Sometimes I got to tell him, chill, champ, chill. And I got to like push him off. Sometimes right? No? Oh, you ain't having it. Huh? Yeah. He don't like these types of jokes.
No, I don't.
Why is that?
Cultural background. Where I'm from, we don't play those jokes.
Where's that? West Hollywood?
Memphis, Tennessee. I'm not from where you from.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I know you hang out in West Hollywood a lot.
Oh, wait, I do got to tell you something before we jump into this interview. I saw an interview that you did about Memphis, Tennessee, and you were talking about how fashion is just part of your culture. We were all watching it. We thought you did a very good job. You're talking about how in your culture, sometimes you just would go to the mailbox, you dress up. I thought it was a great interview.
It's real, though.
Yeah, because you do have good drip. I will give you that. Lately, you've been dressing a lot younger.
What do you mean by that?
Nothing.
Man, come on. We got to guess it.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. Parillo, I gotta kick this off with the facts. Undefeated pro boxer, 8-0.
Correct.
So that's how you got your start in mixed martial arts and UFC?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as getting involved in more mixed martial arts, we opened up a gym back in '92 called LA Boxing when I was a kid. Sean McCauley, Wade Halverson, Mike Samaza, a few other people. We all opened up a boxing gym down in Costa Mesa. And all those guys outside Mike Samaza was a pure boxer as well, but they were in the no holds bar back then. You know, they were in the beginning stages back when Rampage and all these guys were doing it. So I had always kind of been around it as far as getting involved in mixed martial arts, but I was around fighting, wanted to be was a fighter myself, wanted to be the best fighter I can be myself. And, you know, it was something that, ironically enough, as to support myself as a fighter, from the time I was 18 years old till currently today, to support myself was training people, training fighters, training everyday Joe Blows and whatnot. But I became real good friends with a lot of MMA guys during that time, and just had a real organic transfer over and training MMA fighters.
I remember hearing about LA Boxing back in the days when I was training at Fabiano Iha's gym in Huntington Beach.
Yep.
You used to train the McCulley brothers, and Tito used to go over there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was talking about how good the gym was.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I'm talking about this is over 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, we opened, like I said, 92. That's 30 years ago, right? Over 30 years ago, right?
Wow.
But, I remember Fabiano Iha, and who was he fighting? He fought, Clever Luciano. Yeah. So these two guys are fighting, right? And you remember the chiropractor, like there was Clint Dahl, remember Clint?
Yeah, I remember
Clint, and then there was Sal Gasperi, who was a chiropractor. Two guys that were doing the chiropractic world kind of thing. Yeah. At 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, Sal Gasperi walks in with Kleber. It says, hey, this guy's fighting this guy, Fabiano Iha, in 2 weeks. Will you put him on the hand pads and kind of, help him out a little bit? Sure. Clever, who I love Clever. I see. Well, you know Clever.
Yeah, I met him a few times.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah. He seems like a good dude. I mean, at least we don't know each other.
He was rivals with my coach, so we.
Oh yeah, Fabiano. Fabiano was a great guy, because the story continues. Yeah. Clever, I put Clever. I said, okay, try to give him a couple points. What are you really going to do in a 2-week period of time, right? 3-4 hours later, Clint walks in with Fabiano, says, hey, this guy's fighting Cleverly. You know what I mean? Can you show him a few things, whatever. So, yeah, I put both of them on the hand pads. I don't know who ended up, who won that fight? Do you know?
I think Fabiano won by like a uppercut, like you know, like a hammer fist.
Oh
uppercut.
yeah, I showed him that. I knew that was a shot that was going to win it.
Man, they hated each other at that time. You know?
Yeah.
And it was strange for me because, you know, Fabiano is the first Brazilian guy I met, right? And what I learned about those guys, like they like really stick together.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, oh,
especially back then.
Back then too.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, oh, 2 Brazilian guys fighting each other. I had never heard of that.
Yeah. It's gang war going on that one. Yeah, but maybe they were competing for the schools too.
Yeah,
Because everybody started opening up their schools, and I mean, they still do today. There's a jiu-jitsu gym on every corner, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, interesting dynamic back then though, right? Because you guys came up in a world where you guys were pioneering the sport. Like even at the time you were coming up, there wasn't a lot of gyms how there is today, right?
Oh, you talking about here in Orange County? No, it wasn't a whole lot of MMA gyms, really.
Yeah. No, there was no MMA gyms. It was all cardio kickboxing shit. Like, you know what I mean? It was all like, you know, people trying to make money off doing boxing and kickboxing. But you'd have the fighters in there because you'd have to have the fighters come and teach and have the mystique of a guy that gets in the ring or gets in the cage and gets in a fist fight so the members can come in and go, wow, I'm training around this guy. You know what I mean? And I mean, that still continues today, right?
Yeah, you're
right.
But
as far as the straight MMA gym.
You're right. I just thought about it. It wasn't because I had to train my jiu-jitsu at Fabiano's, then go to Punch Out and train Muay Thai with Colin.
Yep.
But you had to go to a different gym.
You had to go to different gyms.
They wouldn't come to you guys and all train in
one
one gym?
It was no MMA gyms. He's right.
And and Punch Out was later too. Punch Out came after LA Boxing. I think they turned the LA Boxing Tustin into Punch Out. Because I know Colin and Tyrone Bennett went down and opened up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, you got a good memory.
That's crazy.
I all these guys, I grew up, all these guys, you know, we were all, because LA Boxing was the nucleus. LA Boxing started. That was a gym that, you know, I helped open up with Sean McCauley and Wade Halverson and Samaza, like I was saying at the beginning. And over the years, you know, Colin came in, worked there. Tyrone was there working there, you know, and there's all these guys. And then they branched out from that. And well, actually, they opened up the LA Boxing Huntington Beach and the LA Boxing Tustin. And there was a falling out amongst the guys trying to build the franchises. I guess I should say they ended up having some embezzling shit going on amongst them. One of my old managers, Jeff Ford, was one of the owners. There was Mike Davis and there was Kerry Crone. And these guys had a business going on and they kind of had a falling out. So then they sold them all separately. They sold Colin and Tyrone, the one in Tustin, which eventually came Punch Out. Trying to think who took the Huntington Beach one. I know it's Sean McCauley, who was the original guy that opened up the original LA Boxing, came back and rebought the Costa Mesa one from Kerry and Mike and Jeff and these guys. And so now they were all 3 individually owned. And then they all kind of went a different direction.
Do you know what that Punch Out is now?
What is it?
It's a sushi restaurant.
Right off the 5, right?
Right there.
Yeah.
And I cannot bring myself to ever eat. I don't eat sushi anyway, but it's like Japanese. And I see people going there. I'm like, man, do you guys know all the sweat?
Yeah.
So we did inside that building.
Well,
like,
I'm sure they gutted it. They had to gut it.
They cleaned it first.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
But it's just the thought of it. But the LA Boxing, you guys turned into the UFC gyms, right?
Yep. That's what happened.
No way.
Yeah.
You guys sold all the LA Boxings to UFC?
Well, what happened is I actually originally was supposed to have 10% of every LA Boxing that ever was sold. I helped train a lot of the franchisees as far as the class structure and whatnot. And the original, you know, when the names are irrelevant, but I was originally supposed to have, I was supposed to be a part of the building of all the franchises and all the different ones. Well, they went on and it was around the time I was still fighting. I thought that I was going to be some kind of fighter guy that made a lot of money and whatnot, which didn't turn out, but that's what I thought I was going to do. So when I got, I'll say it, kind of burned in the whole process, I said, well, fuck you guys. I'm going to be the best in the world. And I don't give a fuck because you have that, I don't care if I live or die attitude when you're a fighter, right? So you don't care and fuck you. And I'm the man, right? And I ended up eating shit on that one because they ended up doing, I think, 80 or 90 LA Boxings. And then eventually the UFC gyms came and bought out all the LA Boxings. Wow. And And that's where maybe I would have made my money, or a little bit of money at least, at least 10% or whatever. I was making coaches fees 10% of my whole life.
I mean, the Colin Oyama gym, which turned into Team Oyama, is where like Ian McCall, Robert Emerson, all those guys came out of, right?
100%.
And that's out of Tustin.
Well, they
Carla
moved.
Esparza. Yeah, they moved. They're in Irvine, I think.
They
now.
moved it.
Which one did you train at?
Punch Out was in Tustin.
Yeah, I trained at Punch Out, and then they did a deal with this money guy, and they bought a real big gym called No Limits.
No Limits, that's right.
And this was right after my loss to Shogun. And those guys, they kind of thought that I was finished, and that money guy like offered me this crazy, crazy contract where I was going to be personally liable for the gym if it went under. And I looked at that, I was like, man, this is not a good deal for me. You know what I'm saying? And I was, you know, I was kind of bummed out. So, you know what I'm saying? I kind of left that, let them like, yeah, you guys go ahead and do your own thing. I'm not gonna be personally liable for this gym if it don't work out.
And Team Oyama, that was his gym that came from Punch Out? We formed Team Oyama after Team Punishment broke up because the reason why I was training with Tito, the reason why I stayed training with Tito is mainly so I could train with Colin, because Colin has changed. He changed my style up. As soon as I started training Muay Thai, he changed my style up and made me a better fighter. And I was training with Tito for his fights. But, you know, Tito was busy after his fights. And, you know, as I got older in my career, I understood why. Like, after your fights, you go and do other things. So after Tito fights, I went back to the gym and I kept training. I was training with Colin, and I saw I was getting better. Mm-hmm. So I stayed training, and I fell in love with Muay Thai. And, you know, and I was training there with them, and then we formed Team Oyama. Got it. But you never trained Muay Thai before Oyama?
No.
You only were training striking, like just punching?
I wasn't.
Wrestling?
I really
Well,
didn't.
like you were saying before, there's no MMA gym, so there wasn't if you got to go. Damn. And the community's small, right? The fight culture, the fight community. I mean, so it's not, and loyalty, I think, was a lot more prevalent back then, right? I mean, not that it's not prevalent today, but loyalty is like, you know, if you're training over here, you're not going to go train, whether it's boxing instead of Muay Thai, it doesn't matter. You're still going in and listening to another coach, which is kind of, you know, am I right or wrong about this?
Right,
you know, there's respect, right?
Yeah.
And so martial arts is all about respect.
Yeah, I wanted to go over there and train with them guys because I heard a lot of things about them way before I met them. I heard that was like the best place for striking and everything. But back then, you know, I couldn't afford it. I wasn't making money. The guy who got me started fighting, he took me to this damn boxing gym in Westminster, and this old black guy was training us there.
I used to box at Westminster boxing gym too. Yeah, no, you know who?
I don't remember his name. This over 20 years ago, and all I remember is he was an ornery old black guy. No matter what I did,
was wrong.
Everything was wrong.
Yeah,
no encouragement.
Yeah.
So I trained there for like 3 days, and I don't never give up. I wasn't going to give up, but the guy that was, you know, helping me out, the one who got me started training, he said, "Man, fuck this guy."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
He's like, he's not.
Something about negative motivation isn't a long-lived relationship with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, telling you suck every day is not a good way to approach things, I don't think.
Yeah.
So when we talk about coaching, like Rampage, you've given us some amazing insight. It's been over a year now of this JAXXON podcast. We've talked to some of the greatest fighters of all time. We don't really get to talk to some of the greatest coaches. I think we did Eric Nixick was about it. We did some with our coach here at JAXXON House.
You did Eric Nixick. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. You were on the podcast.
Yeah. I did the podcast.
It's like that today, huh?
What you started out calling me strawberry
like
shortcake and shit.
I never said strawberry shortcake, but that's what's on your mind. You want to go with that?
He did say something like,
no, hold up.
Let's go back. Vinny.
I called him a strawberry. Vinny, what'd I call him?
Did he call me a shortcake? Strawberry shortcake?
It was strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, you look like a strawberry shortcake.
Yeah.
But one thing is, like, we talk about coaches. We know your pedigree, right? You've coached guys, BJ Penn, Michael Bisping, Tito Ortiz, RDA, Chris Cyborg, Luke Rockhold, Cheeto Vera, Mackenzie Dern, Jalin Turner. I've seen some of the best athletes in the world go through the Ruka gym when Pat Tenori invited me there to watch him and train with him. And when I met Parillo, Pat said, you know, talk to Parillo. If Parillo says you could train here. And I didn't know anything, but I just wanted to watch and run around and get content. He helped me out a few times. And one thing that I've always wondered is how hard is it for a fighter coach? Like, there's a lot of coaches we see that have never fought. How hard is it for you who fought and was an elite fighter to coach fighters in their prime and have to be the coach and not the fighter?
Well, I guess first of all, to answer that question, just being a fighter, I wasn't an elite fighter because I was only 8-0. But I mean, God bless you for saying that. That makes me feel good. But I think it's definitely beneficial to have some type of combat experience, boxing, kickboxing, boxing. I mean, I wasn't a mixed martial artist fighter. I have, plenty of fights where I end up on the ground and rolling around, but that nobody's getting paid for those ones. But I do think it's very valuable psychologically for a coach to have that experience of putting themselves, sacrificing every day of their lives, putting themselves first. I mean, as selfish as that is, but putting themselves first 24 hours a day, everybody in their life accepting that you got to eat, you got to sleep, whatever you're doing is more important than what they want to do. And then leading up to a fight, going in a week or 2 weeks before a fight, where it's reality now, because most fighters book a fight 2-3 months in advance. The reality of it is that no matter how many times they've done it, the reality's not there yet. Fuck yeah, I'm fighting in 3 months. Fuck yeah, I'm fighting in 2 months. Fuck yeah, I'm fighting in 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks. Fuck, I'm fighting. You know what I mean? Now they got that mind fuck to start. And then you get the week of the fight, you fight in the UFC, and especially the levels that Rampage is fought at. Now you're fighting at a level where there's press now, and you got the hang-oners, you got everything, the attention that's on you so heightened you're hypersensitive to everything, right? So you're going in there, and now you got some guy that's going to give you the advice while you're in the foxhole. When you're in the you got wobbled. You know what I mean? You got to go back to the corner, and you got to look at a man in the face, and the man that you're looking in the face that's going to give you advice at that point has never been in that fucking foxhole before. He's never been on that fire line. He's never been hurt. He's never handled doing press on a Wednesday, doing 6 weeks ago fighting with your girl because fucking she didn't give you warm food, she gave you cold food or whatever it is. Like, you got a sibling, you got somebody in your life that you care about more than life itself, but just told them to go fuck themselves, and they don't matter because all that matters is your fight, and that's the only thing that's important to you, and everybody in their life can go fuck themselves because everybody should put me on a pedestal because I'm a fighter and I'm going to be the best fighter in the world, and that's who the fuck I am, and blah blah blah. So you've already you built up this fucking platform for yourself. You did it to yourself. You put yourself in this motherfucking situation, right? You put yourself in the situation, and now you're in the fucking fire line, and bam, you get rifled on, and you landed good, and now you're in a fucking fight now, and now you got to go back again. Where the question was about coaching, right? Yeah. And now you got to go back and look at a motherfucker in the face, and he's got to give you the advice. And if you don't respect that motherfucker, and if you think this guy's never won a fucking marble game, this guy's never won tag in his life, dude, let alone win a fight, what the fuck is it? His spirit will fucking present himself to you right there and then. Whoever that motherfucker is sitting in front of you, his spirit will be an aura, and it'll be looking at you, and you got to decide whether you want to listen or not. And if that spirit isn't there and they can't fucking pull you in, you will hear nothing that motherfucker has to say, and he's offering you absolutely nothing.
Man, he 100%
I'm getting
right.
chills. I got goosebumps.
No, he's
100%.
100%. He's 100% right, because I've had all different type of coaches, and some of them, they just don't understand. They never been there, and they never been on that level. One thing about fighting that a lot of people don't understand, and he touched on it just a little bit, is that being a fighter is the most selfish thing that you can do. You have to be selfish because, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day, is your ass on the line once you step inside that ring or that cage, and your life is on the line. Mm-hmm. And he's right. You have to be very selfish, even with your friends, your family, even your kids. And a lot of people don't understand that. And if a coach hasn't fought, they don't understand that. Some coaches, they don't understand about even stuff as simple as a break. You need a rest. Right. Sometimes some coaches don't even understand that.
That was one of Bisping's favorite thing that I'd say to him. I'd say, "Hey, Bisping," because there's a guy that never wanted to rest. You know Bisping well. Yeah. Never wanted to rest. And I'd say, hey, Mikey, takes a confident man to rest. You got to remember that. It takes a lot of confidence to rest. You know what I mean? Because when you're when it's the most important thing, and you're hypersensitive, and it's the most, but like you don't want to give an inch. You know what I mean? So if you think, I didn't run today, and you beat yourself up over that, when actually not running today maybe helped you out today. You know, maybe taking 2 or 3 days off will actually help you recover and repair a little bit. It's when to rest and knowing your body, knowing yourself, and having the right people around you, the right coaches around you, the right whatever around you to, you know, that you can trust and listen and say, you know what, I can rest. I have the confidence to rest for a couple of days. I'm not going to lose inches on my game because I fucking rested. And really, I'm actually gaining inches on my game because I rested. And it's a difficult thing for people to rest.
And man, Bisping was one of the hardest training fighters I ever trained with. At first, I thought it was Tito. Then I trained with Michael Bisping. One time, we was in Big Bear training for a fight, and Big Bear at high altitude.
Yeah.
Man, that's the hardest place to run. And we had Zach Light coaching us.
I remember Zach.
Yeah, you remember him?
Yeah.
And if you know Zach Light, he's a great wrestler, great wrestling coach, great fighter, but he could run. He's a little bitty guy. He was smaller than me and Bisping. I'm bigger than Bisping and Zach, but Zach probably fought at 55 or something like that. So those little guys are faster.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to run like, I can't remember, 3 or 4 miles, and some of it was like kind of uphill. And I could run pretty good back in the day when I was younger, and I'm running, and Bisping come past me, and you can tell his form that he's not a runner.
Yeah.
But he come past me grunting like he was hating every second of it, right? And he get past me, and Zach is like way down the road, and I didn't know Michael Bisping was this competitive, but at the end of the run, he passed Zach, and he beat everybody, but he was grunting and the whole way there, and that's when I looked at Michael Bisping. I was like, man, I wish I had that, but I never had that type of self-discipline or determinology or whatever you want to call it to push myself like that hard.
Well, sometimes if there's more of a coordination on your side or more on an athleticism on your side, it kind of comes easier too. Like sometimes when things come a little bit easier, it doesn't make you don't have to want it more because you already kind of got it right at the end of the day. And I'm not saying Michael did, but you're right. Mike will be the first one to say to you, I have to work. I got to work twice as hard as a lot of people because I wasn't, growing up the most athletic guy in the world. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I trained hard. Don't get me wrong, but it was sometimes where I wanted to push myself like that. I remember when him and I was both training with the Wolf Lair, they would have to tell us the opposite thing. They would tell him, tone it down, tone it down, tone it down, tone it down. And they tell me, come on, man, you got to go. Yeah. They always thought that I didn't want to train.
Just because he was going so hard.
It's just that he don't, like he said, don't stop.
Michael Bisping has a really interesting career. He's one of the greats. He's up there, and he wins a belt. And he wins a belt against a guy you now coach and then ended up coaching Luke Rockhold.
Right.
So explain to me this dynamic. You're coaching Michael Bisping. He wins the belt against Luke Rockhold, who looked incredible all year. And he was coming off, a big win, and he looked so confident. And then obviously something happens. Bisping gets the win. There's a famous video of Parillo kind of on the side. You do this. That video's been used all over the internet millions of times. What was that camp like? What was that fight like? How did that happen?
Well, he had just beaten Anderson Silva, is what put him in line to, and I believe, I want to say Chris Wyman had pulled out. So it was a late notice. It was maybe a 2.5 week notice fight, really, at the end of the day. Fortunately, Bisping had fought Luke prior to that, so we kind of knew him well. And how that little rivalry kind of happened was, I got introduced while I was training Bisping. I got introduced to Luke Rockhold, and who was at the time he was the Strikeforce champion of the world. He said, "Hey, kid, he came into Ruka. I put him on the mitts a couple times, and we just kind of got to know each other a little bit. But I'm training Bisping, and I'm like, hey, who's been in the gym working a little bit is Luke Rockhold. I'm like, fuck, he's Strikeforce, you're UFC. There's no real conflict there. That'd be great sparring for you. That'd be great work. So we went. We had some sparring." I think we went and sparred him over at Ultimate Training Center in Huntington Beach. Because you've trained there, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went and train, and for some reason, I guess we decided to go on neutral ground, right? But so we go there, and Luke wasn't in the best. I don't even, to be honest, I did the sparring. I believe Bisping was ahead in the sparring. It wasn't a world-beating spar. People didn't walk out there like, hey, we should have paid for that. You know what I mean? They sparred. It was a sparring session. Bisping later went on he was, for his next fight, he was promoted his next fight, and he was talking to the interviewer, and the interviewer said, he's like, I just sparred with Luke Rockhold, the Strikeforce champion. And he's like, oh, how'd that go? And he goes, well, let's just say this. I'm the new Strikeforce champion.
Oh, my God. Oh, the disrespect.
You can't say that about Luke Rockhold. I don't say that about anybody.
Yeah, especially a champion.
Yeah.
Luke's a champion for a reason, you know?
My
And
God.
Oh, no.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So that's why there was a feud?
that's what sparked the feud.
Oh, you can't talk. For those of you guys that don't know Luke Rockhold, he's one of the most confident fighters and men of all time. A phenomenal champion, phenomenal fighter, but the guy trains 7 days a week. He don't take that lightly. I'm assuming he didn't take it lightly.
Not what he's champion of the world. And he said, well, let's put it this way. And it's pretty slick, right? It's like, so how'd that go? He said, I kicked his ass. Well, he got the better of me in the second. I got the better of him in the third. You know, it wasn't nothing like this. It's like, let's just say I'm the new Strikeforce champion.
Wow.
You know, so
that hurts, huh?
Cold blood.
That's cold.
It was cold-blooded. So they got into like I think they probably went back and forth a little bit, and then later on they fought where Luke ended up getting the better of us.
Yeah.
And that kind of kept the heat going, and as the universe works, it came to a third time of some type of meeting. Granted, the first one was sparring; it wasn't fighting.
Yeah.
But granted, they came together, and you know, Bisping walked out with the world title. So it was. I mean, God bless him. You know, God bless him.
Yeah.
It made it hard. We'll say now Luke later hits me up because me and Luke were always cool, you know. And then Luke, you know, hit me up. Hey, let's start training a little bit. Or he came in. We trained for a few. He wasn't even fighting really. We were just training, and we maybe post something. And I always wondered, like Bisping, I had confidence that he wasn't going to be bothered. He was retired, you know. And I called. I said, Mike, I said, does it bother you that I trained Luke Rockhold? He goes, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, they go, which could go two ways. You could be like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
like go fuck yourself. Or it could be like, I really don't give a fuck. And as the closest that me and Michael have in our relationship, he knows that, you know, at that point, it kind of be, I still got to make a living. You know what I mean? I coach I don't make a dime unless a fighter's giving it to me.
Yeah.
You know, which is if anybody out there in the world, you know, we all have jobs, we all make money. Listen to me. If you're depending on fighters to pay your bills, it's not a fucking easy project, man. By no means, you know. So I got to be able to make a living, and he understands that as well. And back when I trained him, if there was a middleweight that came to me, I wouldn't even train him.
Oh wow.
You know, like I think Mark Munoz hit me up about training. I mean, because I gotta have a strong loyalty to the fighter as a fighter does to me. You know what I mean? When a fighter respects me and treats me with all this loyalty, you know what I mean? I have to give him the same thing. And his ego is way more important than my ego. His building him up and making him feel confidence and making him feel like he can trust you is one of the most important parts of the project. That's how you can have those conversations in between rounds and look at a man and trust what he has to say. But regardless, that's how it started. He made a sassy comment on an interview about Luke, you know, being the new Strikeforce champion, and just kind of, and here's two fucking big white dudes that fucking, you know, got good looks to them. You know what I mean? I mean, fuck God's sake, he was a Ralph Lauren model, Luke, you know what I mean? And fucking Mike, he's a good looking kid, you know what I mean?
Luke was in every airport
you
around
know,
the world. Yeah.
So they can kind of like, fuck you. Yeah. I'm the good looking fucking fighter.
Is it? I was watching TikTok and they were saying that Michael Bisping won that fight with one eye.
He did.
How was that training?
It's nice because I don't have this eye and he doesn't have this one, so we'd kind of mirror each other and just play off of it.
Like Bisping doesn't really have an eye?
Yeah, he lost his eye with that
Vitor Belfort.
Vitor Belfort.
Wait, what do you mean?
With the shin kick.
Oh yes, but did it really get like completely?
He had a fake eye.
He has a fake eye now. He has a glass eye, but what happened? He got detached the retina, and then it was just accumulation of every eye disease you can think, from cataracts to glaucoma to everything you can think of. He had to deal with that eye. You know, you got to understand how tough of a man Michael Bisping is. Now, he's one of the realest dudes you're ever going to come across in your life. As far as being like I used to say it to Mike all the time, and I always kind of would compare Cheeto to Mike because I would be like, every fighter wants to fucking be there. They want to fight, and we just talked about leading up to the fight, now the week of the fight stuff. And in the week of the fight, you know, Mike wanted to be there. You know, he wants to fight. You know what I mean? Not that we all don't want to fight, but we all do wake up the morning of the fight going, what the fuck am I doing? He still says that, though. He still says, what am I doing? We all say, what the fuck am I doing? But he still wants to do it more than fucking life itself. And with that, I was always in at least definitely fighting at 205. I don't know if you never fought at 185, but at 205, you had to cut weight, right? You had to come down. So when you come to the fights, you got 2 fights going to the fights, right? You got the weight cut, and then you got the fight. With Michael, it was the doctor exam, the weight cut, and the fight. Because the doctor exam was, we got to pass this fucking eye test, you know. So I would go with him and every time. And let me defend myself a little bit by saying this. I, as a coach and as somebody that's grown close and that cares about him, if he was showing signs in the gym where it was affecting him significantly, I would say, dude, we can't do this. You know what I mean? This is not something we should do. I'm not going to encourage you to go out there one eye. You can't see shit. You get hit by everything in the kitchen sink on that side. You know, they can't miss you on that side. But that wasn't the case. He was able to, in the way we trained, was able to kind of, at a lot of distance, fortunately for Mike, he's fast-footed, fast-handed. He's faster than most middleweights. He's going to be fast. You know, for a bigger guy, he's got great speed, great endurance, and whatnot. So, you know, we would train at a distance, and it was his back eye as well, which I like better because his lead eye can kind of cover more ground. And, you know, so you gotta be long and you gotta get to him. That's why, again, like Luke caught him a little bit after that fight. You know, it's, you know, everybody learned, you know, even GSP winning the title against him, he said it on the mic. He said, I knew he had some deficiencies on one side because he knew going into the fight that he's blind on that side. You know, so once you know that, you're fucked. Because even after that fight, I think we took a fight with Kelvin Gastelum like 3 or 4 weeks later after that fight. He's like, because it was coming to the end of the year. It was like November, December. And we knew that Mike wasn't going to get his license again. We knew that the cat's had a bag. He's blind on that eye. People know it's going to and you're not going to get licensed again. So he wanted to get one more payday before we go out there. He said, I'm going to go in this fight like it's a street fight. And at that level, you can't look at it that way because it's not going to end well. But, yeah, what was the original question? I think?
No, it's an interesting topic because then you end up taking Luke Rockhold in as one of your fighters.
Yeah. Yep, and which I thought was going to be a phenomenal situation. I would love to see him, bring him back to the top of something. But we felt we had one fight together in MMA. It was against Paulo Costa. It was his last fight with the MMA, and I say all the time that's probably one, if not one of it. Not that you have a favorite loss, but I could look at that loss as a positive. This is my favorite loss of all time, which is a weird thing to say, because I don't have there's no loss that I liked. There's no loss that I enjoyed, and not that I enjoyed that he lost, but I enjoyed the way that he fought because, you know, fighting is traumatic, dude. There's a lot of trauma these motherfuckers have, you know, in the long run, and he came off of getting knocked out like 3 out of 4 of his last fights. You know, and they weren't, you know, God bless you, Luke, and that's no knock on anybody. We all can go out there and get knocked out, you know, and the trauma of each one is sitting in our subconscious. You know, I mean, that's sitting in all the back of all our brains. And no matter how tough we act and we talk, you know what I mean? We all know our fucking insecurities and what are in the weaknesses that we have going on in our brains. And he went into that fight against a bona fide killer, Paulo Costa, a guy that is up and coming and is a big beast guy, you know, and he really fought his ass off in that fight. He showed his heart and his spirit out there, a spirit and a heart of a champion. And that's all I could see. That's what I was looking through, and he had the crowd chanting his name, you know, screaming. He went on the mic with Joe and retired on the mic. You know, I mean, it was. He showed his spirit, you know. I mean, we didn't get the W, didn't get the judges' decisions on the whole situation, but I felt like he got his spirit back. And I've been in a similar situation with that, like when Tito beat Ryan Bader. I saw his spirit go back into his body, and I said that's fucking a beautiful thing, man. I mean, no matter what in life, later in life, this just fucking did something for your guts and your spirit. But I kind of went off on a tangent on that. I apologize.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Do you think you could turn anybody into a fighter or a boxer?
I mean, I think I could help develop anybody's boxing skills. Yes, anybody on the planet. But to be a good one, yeah. You know what I mean? That's
how about a piece of shit? I mean, Bear. How about somebody like Bear?
Well, we've seen Bear spar. I've been watching him spar here a little bit.
He thinks he's Rocky now since he's been.
He
boxing.
does,
bro. Gary Goodrich's producers challenged me to a brawl yesterday.
Yeah, what happened?
I had to put on for the JAXXON podcast. I got the footage. You want to watch it?
I need to see footage because you be full of cap all the time.
How am I full cap?
You always full of cap.
How am I full cap?
He be making up stories. He can make up stories like this.
What story I make up?
He's sharp.
Yeah. I'm not making up any stories about you with that girl.
What girl?
The girl that you pulled from.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to say anything bad about her or you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Did.
I haven't pulled any
exactly. Girl. Oh, you didn't go to Chili's and eat baby back ribs with your shorty? No.
It's been years I've been in Chili's.
All right, just wondering.
No. Don't be trying to change the subject. Somebody like him, Rocky wannabe.
Yeah.
Like honestly, no, but honestly, that is a good question. I want to know.
His biggest gift is gab.
Yeah,
he's got the gift of gab, man. He just fucking. It's like he's like a heavyweight. You're coming up the ranks right now.
I'm ready to go at him. Take me out there. I'll go all over him. Take me. Put me in the ring, coach.
Yeah, look like he got little bruises on his face. Like somebody beat him up recently.
He brought like a 250-pound dude in here and put him in the ring against me. Monster, that dude.
Yeah, he don't like him. He don't like him now. The guy told me like, yeah, I want to come back to JAXXON. I love that gym, but Bear said I'm not welcome back. It's only for private.
No, we're rebuilding a brand new podcast center.
No, that's my friend. That's my friend.
That's my dog.
No, but because he kicked your ass, you like banned him from the gym.
See what I got to do it? And Rampage would be putting out all kinds of theories.
No, he banned my friend from the gym.
He didn't ban nobody.
Because he kicked his ass that one day.
All right, here we go, Rampage. I want to know something. BJ Penn, one of the greatest ever dude in the UFC. You got to walk me through the story. This guy goes and gets the belt. You're with him. How'd you meet him? What is the relationship with you and BJ Penn?
BJ's one of the closest dudes in my life, man. I mean, he has, everybody, distance will make you kind of disconnect a little bit, but BJ would fucking. I met BJ back early days. LA Boxing is where I met him. I had worked with him for a couple weeks. I think he was fighting Carlos Uno or somebody out. I don't know if it was that Pride or was that was K1 maybe, or was it might have been UFC.
Yeah, I think it was UFC.
Yeah, it was UFC. Yeah, because he had a few fights out of UFC, but not many.
The one where he knocked him out with the flying knee.
Yeah, I think it was around then.
And then he folded him against the cage and he hit him a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Carl Uno. Something
yeah,
like
I think that was
in
around
UFC.
That time.
Yeah,
but we weren't working together. He just came out because LA Boxing again. There wasn't a lot of gyms around there in Orange County, and he came in there and he had just started working with Pat with Ruka, I believe.
Oh yeah,
and kind of knew him, hit it off, whatever. A year or 2 years later, so time went by. I had stopped. I had some physical issues with myself, so I wasn't really focusing on fighting myself, and I was training people. I had always been training people. That's what I did to make my cash. And he was fighting Jens Pulver. He was rematching Jens Pulver. I think he lost to the Jens the first time. And to be honest with you, back then my plan was I'm going to train MMA fighters now the rest of my life. But this was kind of the I had already worked with MMA fighters. I had already worked a UFC fight and did some of this but not to where this is what I do. Pat asked me to go out to Hawaii to work with him for the Jens Pulver fight because Jens was kind of more of a boxer, I think, back then, or considered more of a hands guy. So I went and stayed with BJ for 5-6 weeks or something like this, and trained. Fight went well. I think the main game plan for that was just kind of go off the jet. Because when I first went out there with BJ, I mean, I worked with him a little bit down here, but I went out there, I went, holy shit, like. It's a trip because boxers, especially back then, even further back then, but back then, even though you kind of look like these guys can't fight, you know what I mean? These guys, what the fuck? But knowing what I know now is like a boxer doesn't realize what they're talking. I mean, as far as they don't know what they can get themselves into.
Yeah.
You know, sure, if you can control the range and just beat the shit out of them, sure. But if this fucker grabs you by your toe and pulls you to the fucking ground.
Why you say toe?
You know what I mean?
He said Rampage got a big toe.
He grabbed you by the toe, pulls you to the floor. He's gonna fuck you 6 ways from Sunday. You know what I mean? So, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you don't realize that, but we're neither here nor there. So I go out there and I'm fucking, you know, I'm watching. Wow, it's fucking, wow. You know what I mean? It's interesting. And of course, he's the prodigy too at the time. I mean, it's always been kind of his name. So I'm just trying to figure out this whole fucking deal. Like, okay, I mean, this is a sport. I had been around it, but I okay, go in the fight. He does well, wins, and at that time I was going through. But I don't want to go off subject. I'm not going to. But I had a whole lot of personal drama going on in my life. So I just went and moved to Hawaii. Not moved, but I went out there and stayed there for a significant amount of time. I went out, moved in with BJ for his title fight against Joe Stevenson, and lived with him for maybe 4 or 5 months while I was out there. I was able, at the time there was Aloha Airlines, which his family had tons of airline points for Aloha Airlines, so they could fly me back and forth a little bit. I was, you know, I'd come back here and there, but I was living with him, and we were training on a 24-hour period basis for years.
How was that? How was that living with BJ? I bet that was cool in Hawaii.
That's what I think developed our friendship too. At the end of the day, because now that he doesn't fight, we still have it. There's a bond that you're gonna have with somebody when you live that life experience with them, you know. And it was great, you know. Hawaii. I mean, in Hilo, Hawaii is a whole different animal than Hawaii, in my opinion. It's like, it's a fucking trip. I mean, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? But it's a whole different, it's really, you have to go spend a significant amount of time and realize you're in another world. I mean, and I don't mean that, and by no means is that negative. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. At the time, back then, I would say to myself, God, I could really just, you know, retire here or stay here or be here or live here, you know, but you know, you disconnect from the bubble, from the Orange County fucking just chasing the motherfucking tail. You know what I mean? Everybody keeping up with the Joneses, everything, you know, if a guy wears a nice outfit, you call him a fucking strawberry or whatever. You know what I mean? You don't have, that shit ain't
strawberry shortcake.
That shit ain't happening.
That's crazy to me. You see how the whole city think he is strawberry shortcake?
Nobody's going to say that to one another. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to, because they don't give a fuck.
You see, you started.
I think you look great, man.
Thank you.
To be honest, man, you look great. Yeah.
But you see, you fucking started, man.
You look like the Red Starburst. Because you got broad shoulders. You shaped like the Red.
It don't matter what fucking color I fucking wear.
Yeah, you're blue, you're a Smurf.
You're fucking blue chew.
How do you know that?
Fuck.
Yeah, he must have been white. You play the shit out there. Why you looking at my pit stain? I saw you.
I wasn't going to call you out.
You gonna call me on my pit
I just want to say why you stressing out. I wasn't going to bring it up. I didn't.
No, you did. I see you with pit stains. I didn't say shit.
I didn't say anything. See, there's some things I don't cross the line on. I wasn't going to call you out for overly sweating today.
I got pit stains.
That's crazy to me.
Man, shit.
No, because you scared right now because now the whole world going to
No. He played the shit out there, and you know what he does? He cuts it down to his parts where he's making fun of me.
Yeah, he's just gonna have a whole line. Yeah, he's gonna edit it perfectly too.
So for the guys that don't know, back at home out here at the JAXXON house, he got a big ass TV, one of the biggest damn TVs I've seen, like 4 of them put together, and he just fucking loops him trolling me. And so whenever I walk in,
it's funny. Everybody loves it.
No,
yes, it is. That's why our JAXXON podcast Discord said Rampage right now looks like a fruit roll up. And I said, that is crazy.
Wait, time out. The Discord can see us?
I send a photo before it starts because they always like to know your outfits before we start when I ask them questions.
Now you got the whole Discord trolling me.
No, they're not trolling you. They like you. No, a troll is orange hair and is short. You don't have orange hair. What?
Yeah. Moving on.
He's talking about the Valley. I do want to ask him a question while we're on Hawaii. It has nothing to do with you and maybe he's a little hot and horny right now, Vinny, because he came from a date. He was upset. He was at the Vietnamese Thai shop. We made him come here early.
The Vietnamese Thai shop.
What is it? The Vietnamese, tea shop. Is it a tea shop or Thai shop?
Well, Vietnamese and Thai are two different.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a t-shirt.
It's two different countries, bro.
Yeah.
Well, he's upset. Mighty Mouse called him his dad on Instagram. It's got 1 million views. He's having a rough day, dude. But it's okay. We're going to move on from that free roll-up. So BJ lives in Hilo, and there was a gym or a house in the valley. Is that what it was called?
Well, that came later. That came
later.
That came years later.
So he created his own gym in Hilo for you guys to train at, and he would fly people
he
in?
had the Penn Academy. He had the gym's still there that we were training at during that time. It was they might have changed his name a couple times, but it was basically BJ Penn's gym, BJ Penn's fitness gym or whatnot. And it was maybe a mile from his house, 1.5 miles from his house. So everything's just really, you can, if you have a bike or a skateboard, you want to walk, you can get anywhere you needed to go at that time.
And how many fights were you BJ Penn's head coach for?
Well, here's the thing. I was his head all the way from Jens Pulver to we've gone our different directions here and there over the years. You have a relationship with somebody like this for a long period of time. It's like any relationship. You're going to have ups and downs. You get too close, you get really close to people. You know each other's flaws. You know everything about each other. And then what happens is it's hard to start respect. Like for years, BJ really was at the. I mean, I'm an older man than he is, and I had some experiences in high level boxing fights back in the day. It's playing in the coach's position or assistant coaching, my old coach. But I leading up to this, I had some experience on higher levels of some type of combat sport, we'll say, and so it was nice for him to hear to not that I'm at another level, but to have some, because you want your coach to have some type of experience so you can learn something from the motherfucker, right? So we spent a lot of time, but at the time. BJ always had a coach by the name of Rudy Valentino. It was a great guy. He's a great man. He's an older man. He's older than me, and he's been with BJ for, a long time leading up to that point. So even as I'm the head coach, BJ's listening to me. I'm quote unquote, we'll call it the head coach, but that's not what I would ask for as a label. Like we get Rudy was always there. The week of the fight, Rudy would go with us. Rudy also worked full time, so during the day he had a full time job. He wasn't trying to be an idiot like myself and try to make money off fighters for his whole life, because again, it's not the most lucrative job and it's not the easiest job. But regardless, I always have respect. I don't want to chase anybody out of anywhere. If I've never been in a coaching position and they have another coach and I say, get rid of him. I've never said that in my life. To keep him around. Like this guy does something. This guy does something for your brain. It makes you feel good. He's valuable, and let's keep him around here. And if it keeps showing, if it looks like he's taken away from you, you can always point out. You'll figure that out on your own as well. But neither here nor there. So I never went as far as trying to say I'm the man and listen. I'm BJ Penn's coach, and he listens to me. I'm with him night and day. We fought in Newcastle, won world titles. We went defended them here, defended them there. Fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I just did it. I'm not. It's social media too at that time wasn't really prevalent. But I was. We went on a good run outside of fighting GSP. In my opinion, that was a mistake, but it's easier said later in life. But just because at the time, so BJ had a great fight with GSP the first time they fought, right? But BJ was kind of fluctuating of his weight. He wasn't taking it serious as an athlete. He wasn't getting a nutritionist and a conditioning coach and a coach that you're hired on a full-time basis to be with you. And he wasn't. He was a fighter, and I think they call him prodigy. Did he dedicate plenty of years to jiu-jitsu and whatnot, and in my opinion, the UFC at that time wasn't where it's at today. By no means, it wasn't. BJ became pop, like everybody in the MMA world knew who he was, but like I didn't. When I first was around him, people weren't saying, "Hey, there's BJ Penn. Let me take a picture." All of a sudden, he wins a world title. You're defending. You have this big major fight with GSP. Okay, let me get back to the GSP thing. BJ legitimately trained himself to the weight that he belonged at, and that's 155. He dieted, he did conditioning, he ran, he got a nutritionist, he educated his body and trained his body to be a real 155 pounder, a guy that has to cut weight to 155 and then put the weight on properly to get back up to whatever you are, 167, whatever it is, you know. And be strong and be agile and have the athleticism as a 155 pounder. All right. So he really brought himself down to a real 155 pounder. Now he's 155. He's the champion of the world. And now he's going to fight GSP, who he gave a run for his money. But BJ used to like I'd say, hey, BJ's got to be a little fat. You know, we make jokes like that. I said, no, but you were a big fighter. The sport was even a little bit different back then. And you gave GSP a run for your money. You know what I mean? So now in your mind, you fought somebody, gave them a run for their money. You feel like, fucking, I know I can beat this guy. And I'm in way better shape than I've ever been. But he legitimately saturated himself, or not saturated, but brought himself down to his real weight. You be around BJ.
Yeah,
BJ's not a 170-pound fighter. You know, let alone fighting Leo Machida at 185. And he's also had done that prior to that.
Yeah.
You know? But now we're fighting GSP, and I'm like, man, you know, my job isn't manager. My job is coach. My job is when the manager says, that's why sometimes the manager will call me up and say, hey, coach, you think we should take this fight? And I say, isn't that your fucking job? You know what I mean? Isn't that your fucking job? My job is to fucking make him believe and make him help him try to beat any man on this fucking planet, whoever you put in front of him. You know, do I think it makes sense for the coach and the manager to collaborate? Sure. But you know, that's making the manager's job very fucking easy now, isn't it? You know, I'll ask coach. Coach said yes. You know what I mean? And then you go from there. Then they get their fucking 8-10%, whatever the fuck they get for, you know, making a, you know, decision amongst everybody else. You know, back in the day in boxing, a manager makes a decision, doesn't, and makes a decision. Now it's really on him, and he's actually earning his money. But whatever. So he saturated himself down to 155 pounder, a real saturated. Strengthen himself to a real 155 pounder, not saturated. I should
strengthen.
Strengthen himself to that. So now to be realistically 170 pounds, GSP was 192 pounds when he went in there. They weigh in before you go. You know the people in the UFC. You said, what was his fight weight? He was 192 going into the fucking fight. He weighed at 170. You know, BJ's probably going in the ring at 167 because now he's the day of the fight. You're not eating normal, you know, and
damn.
You know, so I matter of fact, on the scales, I think he was 167, and we put some shit in his. I want to say we put something on him, put shorts on him, put pocket. He was eating in the back to go to the weigh-ins because he didn't want to show up on the scale at 167. He wanted to be. I think he might have came in 168, 169. I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but he wasn't a real 170 pounder. Yeah. And now we got one of the biggest, strongest, baddest, more confident, different. He was a kid back when they fought to begin with, GSP, and now he's coming into his manhood. He's the champion of the world. He's a fucking bulldog, man. He's the best in the fucking world, and we're coming up from 155 to fight him at 170. They're both two champions fighting each other. I don't know if that's the only time they've ever done that, but I feel like it might have. We did it. Yeah, it was a big deal, and I think, you know, we had great grapplers. We had great training partners. We really had a great crew of people around us. It was a bigger dog against a little dog, a smaller dog, you know, and that's just what it was. And yeah. But that's why. But coming from boxing, we're fluctuating. Boxing, you're like, should you fight out 126 or 130? You know what I mean? Because you got featherweight, you got junior featherweight, you got lightweight, you got super lightweight. You know, you're talking 3 to 4 pound differences. Some maybe 7 pounds. You know, but it's just, and they're still really hypersensitive on whether they want to give up 1 or 2 pounds. This is giving up 15. You know, of real weight. Jesus. Which you're going against the best. The two best in their division are going against each other. So, you know, that's my excuse. We all have excuses, like an asshole. Yeah. We all got one. You know what I mean? And
some of us has assholes for friends.
Yeah. That is your, yeah.
Well, some of us.
Who? Who? Me. No, me.
I got a question. This is a rumor about BJ Penn. I wonder if it's true. Does he own the restaurant chain BJ's?
Oh yeah, no, I heard that.
I heard that.
Yeah, I heard he's the one who brought the deep dish from Chicago after a UFC fight to BJ's, the restaurant chain, and then they made BJ's restaurant.
Yeah, the rumor is that BJ Penn owns the BJ
and as well as much as I know BJ, I actually talked to him Saturday. He was going to a friend of ours' wedding. As much as I know BJ, he's never said he owned BJ's Pizzas.
Have you guys ever went there? And
we've gone there together.
Oh, he does.
We've had
he
BJ's.
Hey,
right down on the beach.
He does.
He
the one in HB.
Did they give him a bill? Did he eat for free?
Yeah, they charged him double. Actually, no, no, I don't think he does. He owns. He does well in business in Hawaii, but
You're onto something.
Yeah.
That's normally what they say when they're like Illuminati and they're all together. Talk. Don't say anything.
Don't say anything.
They charge double.
Yeah.
When we go to the Thai tea shops with Rampage, they don't charge them double.
I don't drink Thai tea. Actually, I do drink.
What do you mean? You just
I
ordered you one yesterday.
Vietnamese Thai tea.
No, I drink Vietnamese coffee. But if I ever go to a Thai restaurant to eat, it's for the Thai tea. I like Thai tea. I forgot about
Time
that.
out. I got to tell you something. I forgot to say it. I want to say it on camera because you deserve it. I want to say a big thank you to Rampage JAXXON for bringing me my first ever Japanese catering with Gary Goodrich from Ken Baby, from your boy. The best food I've ever had in my life. He said, Bear, I'm going to do something nice for you. I thought I was going to show up and I was going to have a new car. He brought me some chicken karage, but it was the best I've ever had in my life.
It's really good. But
I want to say thank you for that.
I can't take credit because he wouldn't let me pay.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who pays, right?
No,
Give me some love. Give me some love. Doesn't matter who pays.
No,
you're not. I'm trying to pound you in front of Coach Parillo. Come on, give me some love.
Hey, yo.
Hey, please don't pound him in front of me.
I'll pound him all day. Rampage my boy. He loves it. He loves it.
Wow.
What?
Hey, bro.
What?
I see.
Come on, man. Stop with the Diddy games.
That'd be a different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Rampage.
Come on,
you
bro.
crazy.
You ain't that.
God damn it.
You
All
ain't
right,
that
so Coach Parillo, as we're getting closer to the end of this, I want to kind of ask you rifle off a few questions. This is one of the biggest things the world wants to know. You get this fighter who eventually, trains with you, but I know the rumor is he wanted to train with you for a while. I don't think you gave him a shot because you were currently training RDA. And then you saw him in the gym. You said, wow, this kid's really got a lot of potential. And you and this kid take the UFC by storm. You go on one of the craziest streaks. The guy becomes one of the most loved fighters the UFC ever has seen, never knocked down. His name's Chito Vera.
Right.
And you take him all the way to a title fight. Incredible work as a coach, incredible work as a fighter. But the chemistry and the loyalty you guys have together. Me and Rampage talk about it all the time. I'm always sponsoring fighters, always working with people. Nothing comes between you two. That's a true brotherhood. That's a true coach and an athlete, a master and a sensei type of grasshopper vibe. Reminds me of like the Karate Kid. Like you guys really became family. Yeah. Walk me through this situation.
Yeah, he was reaching out to me for a while, and I didn't. And I had such a funny situation the way I train people. As you well know, I trained people at Ruka for a lot of years, and it was a private gym, and it wasn't designed to do a business. That's why I say if I got to make a dime in order for a fighter to fight, because I wasn't running a business out of there. I wasn't making extra money. So, but also I wasn't bringing a lot of people in there. I just would focus on the two. I would be pretty consistently one or two good fight. When I say good, I mean fighters that are getting paid. Two at a time for many years. It was always like a stagger, maybe BJ and Tito, and then Cyborg and Bisping, and then RDA and whoever. Like it was always kind of went that direction. Chito had reached out to me a couple times, and it's not that, I don't know, I'm a funny fucker, but at the end of the day, I just figured everything. For me, I had the most success with anybody when it organically happens. Like when Bisping came to me, he organically heard about me and he came to me. If the guy's got the fortitude and wants to train with me like that, and they track me down and they find me, they don't stop pestering me, they're going to listen to what I have to say because they want to do it. You know what I mean? That's why I don't reach out and say, hey, I can help you out or I can train you, because I'm more beneficial to a man if he wants me to help him benefit him. Not, hey, I can benefit you, and then they have to try to figure out if you can or not. I want that, because if they already want to, they're already ahead of the game. We're already ahead of it. We're going into this thing running because you want to be here, and you're at the end of every fucking word I'm going to say. And whatever inch I can help you gain, you'll gain it because you're listening, you're believing in it as well. So he was hitting me for a while, and I think he caught me in, I don't know, I think it was one of Bisping's fights. He caught me in the lobby. I was in my inebriated state of mind, and that's really was. If you see me in the lobby of a UFC fight during after the fight, you're definitely seeing a blacked out Jason Parillo. But regardless, he came up to me, and I remember him coming up to me, and I don't think I wasn't where I'm going to remember most of the things that are going to happen. But he came up to me, and I said, you know what? Fuck yeah, kid. And I said, hit me up. He ended up hitting me up that Monday, and I'm like, I told this kid in the lobby to come down and fucking fuck. God, I gotta quit drinking, man. Yeah, like shit. If I could, it's one thing to fucking cheat on somebody, but I told him to come down. The fuck no. But
who were you training at the time that you were worried about? RDA?
No, actually at the time RDA. No, and I didn't even know this too. I go to the guy and say, I got this Cheeto Vera kid coming. He goes, I fucking hate that kid.
Who said that?
No, RDA. And I said, what the fuck?
Wow.
I'm like, because Cheeto, who would like to be a little shit, would go on you go on Twitter and say, hey, fucking RDA, go fuck yourself or whatever you'd say, whatever. You say something. He says, "Yee!" And he's fucking, yeah. And he's thinking in his mind.
Bring in Cheeto.
Yeah. He's thinking in his mind, I just told RDA to go fuck himself. You know what I mean?
Sounds like Rampage.
But
I could see you doing that.
I don't do shit like that. I say it to your face.
Yeah.
I don't. But I like Cheeto. He's funny.
He's the funniest guy.
I don't think he mean no harm.
No, exactly. That's why I'm trying to explain it like this. He wasn't like, hey, fuck RDA. I'm going to kick RDA's ass. He was thinking like, I'd be like, and and Cheeto's he's one of those guys like Bisping. He wants to be there. He wants to be a fighter. He loves to be a fighter. That's his identity. He fucking loves it more than life itself. You know what I mean? So he's like, fucking, this is how I can get some traction too. Hey, fuck you, RDA. Like, hey, anybody say anything? Hey, you know what I mean? But he doesn't realize they're going to come in close quarters.
So did he walk in the gym?
Well, I said, what? He's like, I said, well, I got to massage this relationship back together. You know what I mean? Because this kid just hit me up and I like the kid. And I started, I actually went down, I think to watch TJ Dillashaw or somebody to spar down. And they had a gym for a second down there.
What, Cub Swanson?
Cub Swanson, all these guys. And Cheeto was the sparring partner to them. He was a younger kid, but I think they were just kind of treating him like work. He was work for everybody, And I was watching him. But I could see a toughness in this little motherfucker too. And I'm like, you know what? In the beginning of our relationship, that's why I always said, you're done being the guy that everybody fucking beats up in the gym. Like that, you're done. Because it becomes your mentality. You hear a sparring partner syndrome. People really turn into sparring partners. They do, because they're just happy to be with these high level guys, and then they just cater to them almost. You know what I mean? And then you think, this is how I'm going to make it. This is where my avenue is going to be, and I'm going to be like them one day, when you just become, a branch of them, because all you did was just help them, and you became a sparring partner, and nobody paid attention to you. Nobody gave you the support that these guys were getting, because a lot of times that support comes after they've already made it anyways. So the key thing is to see the kid like that, and he hasn't made it. He don't have shit. This kid's from Ecuador. He's got fucking a wife, 2 kids, and fucking living in Santa Ana. You know what I mean? Like, but you see, there's a spirit, the same spirit that I will always talk about. I see a spirit in this fucking kid. So I got to mend this relationship back with him and RDA, because I love RDA and he's my main priority at that time. But I like this kid, and let's see if we can do something with him. And from then on, we've been as close as coming. We've gotten as close. We have a similar relationship that I'd have with BJ or Michael or any of these guys. You know what I mean? Because it's really, there's a relationship of trust that has to be developed. And I got to know what I talk about fighting too. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, hey, and when it comes to, if you're going to do jiu-jitsu, I'm not going to show you how to get out of an arm bar. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not what I guess necessarily head coach is working a skill set in a game plan, but also, keeping this thing where it needs to be. But yeah, that it basically started off with him reaching out to me and me just kind of ignoring it and not ignoring it. I don't have a place to. I know at that time I didn't have a place to facilitate a 50.
That many people.
50. You know, you got these big MMA gyms that have 50 people in there, and that's why I used to always use a term. It was my little maybe ego trip would say, hey, you throw enough shit against the wall, something's going to stick. So I see these big gyms, they got 50, 60, 70 UFC fighters in there. You know, I would better at least see at least 10% of those motherfuckers better be world champions or at least fought for the world title. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it gets to that point, but you know, you got 50, 60 guys and there's only one guy. If you have no champions in there, that's a problem. You know what I mean? But, you know, you should at least have one or two. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm sure most of them do. And I don't know all the – I just always kind of bank myself on that because I would take whatever two people I would have, and one of them ends up fighting for a world title.
Insane.
You know.
How many world title fights have you been in?
UFC world titles?
Yeah.
Around 14 UFC world titles. 9 wins, 9 UFC wins.
Wow.
But obviously when you lose a title, when you lose them, you lose, you know. But it's funny because I've been my first UFC fight, I think it was 2006, 2007, right around there. And I've had at least a main event fight for every year since probably. But it's not like I've trained 20, 30, 40 UFC fighters, you know, like any fighter that I've trained, that I've worked the corner of, I should say. That means if you're in the corner, you're intimate, you're involved, you know. And I've worked the corner. There's maybe 3 or 4 UFC fighters that I've only worked their corner one time. It was a one-off. It was like a Keith Haring fighting Brock Lesnar. He hired me to come out there for the month. We trained, we fought, we fell short, and I believe he retired, you know. But yeah, I would say 70% of the guys that I've trained more than 2 fights have fought for the world title. Maybe 80%. I don't know, but yeah,
that's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Do you still train a lot of boxers?
No boxers.
No boxers.
No boxers at all. No, I have. I mean, I did in jumping back real quick, and I don't want to go back into it, but with the BJ Penn situation, that's what kind of catapulted me into MMA. I mean, like you say, you know, I worked with Tito way back in the day. Before Tito did the show with Frank Shamrock, Ultimate Fighter and stuff, I was working with him quite a bit there. I know he's always worked with Colin as well. And actually, we sparred with Rampage when I was working with him, and I want to say you were working. Who's the guy that tapes a hand and he'd wear the bucket?
I don't
you don't even say his
name.
name. I know you don't.
Exactly
yeah. We went down and sparred with you, actually, down at and that's the only time I ever really had a conversation with Rampage at the time. He was really nice to me. He's like, fuck, Tito's actually looking better. You know what I mean? That's tough to say. Yeah. I mean, no.
I think I remember that was at the Ultimate Training
yeah,
Center.
Yeah. Because
that's Tito your response to a coach. Damn, you got this guy actually looking good.
Yeah, because what people don't understand though, when I first started training with Tito, it was with Colin Oyama doing Muay Thai, and that was my first time learning how to strike, right? And Tito and Rico Rodriguez used to take turns kicking my ass.
What?
Yeah, that's how I got better.
That's how everybody gets better.
I thought in the beginning you were smashing both those dudes.
Well,
I thought you were beating them up.
Rampage was never known as and I'm telling you from an outsider point of view, we don't know each other like that. Yeah. But not as a gym beater, like a guy in the gym that just because there's world beaters in the gym all day long. There's guys in the gym we've never and will never hear about, and they've kicked everybody's ass in the gym, every world champion, everybody. But their fucking day under the lights is every day in the gym. You know what I mean? They just
really,
yeah, it's true. I suck at the gym. Even when I was champion, you could see me in there training, and I just wasn't the gym guy.
He's a game day player is what we call him. He's a game day player. You know what I mean? He comes in, and what you don't realize is he might never admit it, but he's calculating shit constantly at the same time. He knows what he's doing. He's got some con. You got some con to you. You know what I mean? Like you're like.
I'm not very competitive.
Yeah.
I'm not very competitive, and I like to think that I don't have like a huge ego like a lot of different fighters or martial artists. So when I'm in a gym, you know what I'm saying, for me, it's training. Like sparring is my favorite part of training. And I'm there. I'm learning. I'm getting better and stuff like that. I don't see it as me versus my sparring partner, my training partner.
Got it.
And so that's why I like to look at it.
Would Tito
and a lot of the
Rico
best
Rodriguez,
look at it that way, I believe.
Would Tito and Rico and all those guys, would they look at it like they had to beat you up to prove something in the gym, or no?
I feel like that sometimes.
Really?
Because they used to kick the shit out of me.
But when you say that, it's because you were super young, right? Because towards the middle of your career, when you had the belt,
you're younger than
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 46.
Yeah, so Tito's almost 50 now. He's 49, I think now.
He's got to be like 48, something like that.
No, he's 49. He's a year younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Funny thing about Tito, one of the first times I hung out with Parillo was Tito was filming for the UFC or whatever. It was Tito versus Chuck at Ruka. Pat said, "Oh, Tito's here." He said he knew you. And I was like, "Yeah, Tito's good friends with my family. He comes to all of our charity events." And Parillo was filming with like UFC TV because it was like Oscar De La Hoya's fight. It was the last fight against Chuck. And you were training him for the LA Forum.
Oh, when he fought Chuck Liddell, the third fight, a lot of people talk shit to me about that. I'm like, I'm trying to make some money,
bro. I walk in the gym and Parillo was like, hey, there's no one here sparring with Tito. They're gonna get some video footage, and I was like, oh, I'll put on gloves, and I'll let. And Tito hit me so hard in the nose. I think my nose is still broken, and then he broke my rib. And then after I said, Tito, I'm done. And then Parillo said,
for the camera,
for the cameras.
Everybody gets a little. Tito actually. I mean, God bless him. He didn't do it purposely. Fractured my rib when and I know he doesn't like to talk about this. When they were supposed to fight, right, in Bellator, him and Tito were supposed to fight.
Oh wow!
And we did a countdown show for that. And I was leaving to go do the Ultimate Fighter with BJ. I remember because Mark Coleman fell on my ribs. I'm like, fuck, do you fight? And he's like, and he gives me shit still today. Like, hey, remember I did that to your ribs? I'm like, I'm like, no, Mark. No. Mark, how many times I got to tell you that wasn't you? That was fucking Tito. And he during the pads, it wasn't pre-planned, but he fucking picked me up. He threw a 1-2 and then picked me up and came down to me, snapped my ribs, whatever. That fight never happened.
I'm glad it did. I'm glad that fight didn't happen because Bellator had me by the balls because I had a stupid fucking manager out of the fucking UK and just did like a dumb fucking deal. And at this time
was that the people that had you and Bisping together, right? For a little bit? Yeah.
He was a fucking idiot.
They screwed you?
Oh, they were just stupid and incompetent. And my deal was with Paramount. And so basically they were trying to outsmart us with contracts, so I was basically going to have to fight Tito for $250,000.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's why and at that time I hadn't fought for under $1 million in years, right? And I was going to have to fight one of my friends, somebody we've been friends for.
Yeah,
they were trying to make us fight for $250,000.
That's fucking horrible. Wait, I taught the only memory I have of this leading up to which was supposed to be a fight. Was I used to say, hey, the only fighter that's ever put me in first class, and until now, but last couple of fighters have given me a first class ticket. But I said the only fighter that's ever given me a first class ticket was Rampage Jackson. Believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah, fuck. I knew you'd ask how. When we went to do the press out in New York City. Remember we went to New York City? We did a little press tour out there, and we were coming back to California. And I'm back in my shitty economy seat. And Rampage came walking by with a couple of his friends. He said, hand me his ticket. He said, hey, go sit in my seat. Dude. I want to sit back here with my friends. And I said, no problem.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they wanted me to sit next to Tito, and we supposed to be
fighting. Yeah, and not to mention he was sitting next to Tito. Yeah. But I wanted to make it look a little nicer. Like, hey, I'm gonna sit back here with my friends. But
no, but me and Tito was cool. I could have sat next.
No,
to
yeah,
him.
you could have. Yeah, they were cool.
That must have been horrible to have to think about having to fight your friend. I could never have to imagine having to fight you.
You better not. You better hope that day never comes.
Well, no, I'm just saying because after last week's beating, he beat me up last week. When Damian Maya was
he made me late for an important meeting with Kyrgo, the gambling site.
Bro, he punched me in the throat, and then he kicked me in the balls, and then he grabbed I was just hurting.
Bro, that was a very important meeting. Like Kyrgo, they're growing.
They took care of you?
Yeah, well,
What is Kirgo? What is Kirgo? I keep posting about it.
It's a new gambling site, bro. They blowing up, and you probably cost me like a big lucrative deal.
But I just saw you posted them. You good now? You back?
I hope so.
Should we? Hey, Kirgo, I swear to God, if you guys don't sign this man and then you blame it on me, I'm gonna come find you guys like the dude in Taken that Rampage did the movie A-Team with, and then I'm gonna snatch you guys, and whatever checkbook you have, I'm gonna make sure he cashes it.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something. Why you hope you and I never have to fight?
Why?
The same reason why sidewalks were invented.
Why?
Because streets ain't for everybody.
What's that mean?
Think about it. I grew up a brawler. You know, I came into MMA.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to fight you. Yeah, I don't want to fight you.
People ask me, like, what's your style? You know, I'm not a martial artist.
You're like the purple Power
You're a fighter.
Ranger. Yeah.
You're a fighter.
You ever seen the purple Power Ranger? Like the one that does all the crazy backflips and crazy.
No, I don't do all that shit. I'm a brawler.
No, you do like a lot of ballet, Cirque du Soleil type of moves.
I've been in maybe over 1,000 fights before I even got to MMA.
I believe it.
Hey, all honesty aside, what do you think your actual street number is? How many street fights?
I've lost a few, but most of the times I got jumped.
How many do you think you've been in your whole life?
I've been a lot, but I've lost a lot. Or not a lot, but I've lost a drunk. I can't fight. Well, since I was old, when I was younger and I'd be drunk, I'd still be able to get off, fucking run if I had to, whatever. But when I got older, after I got in my 40s, I get in a fight drunk. I can't fucking walk the road.
You still street fight in your 40s?
I haven't been in a fight in about probably good 3 years.
Damn, that's still.
Yeah, you're still out
I'm 50, so yeah.
Why are you
I
50?
take a drink. Yeah.
We got a few more minutes left. So before that, I got 2 or 3 questions I want to fire off at you. Number one, our JAXXON Podcast Discord, amazing fan base who's been supporting myself and Rampage as well as this JAXXON house. First of all, we want to say thank you. And the JAXXON Podcast want to say thank you because you've been giving us such amazing content of you training some of the top fighters here, from Cheeto Vera to Luke Rockhold to your guys like Nick. You have Mackenzie Dern in here. We had Tabitha and Caleb in here who came by. Even last week, he stepped in for Yogi, who's coaching Anderson Silva's son, Gabriel Silva, who's one of our JAXXON athletes, undefeated. They went to Dublin for the Misfits fight. You've been a phenomenal, cultural icon in this community of Orange County, bringing up fighting, holding MMA to a standard of championship belts, and your philosophy of having a loyalty and a team based off family, because you're always with your guys, you're always cooking with them. It's incredible. You set the precedent for what a head coach truly is. So we want to say thank you. The JAXXON Podcast Discord, they all see it. They all recognize it. They all want to say thank you. Obviously, it's a blessing to always sit here with Rampage, but when we sit with guys like you who aren't fighters but are a fighter, but guys who are on the other side of the cage, but training these guys, it's cool to get that inside look. So thank you.
God bless you guys, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's always good energy to do something like this.
And you're one of the most respected boxing coaches in MMA.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's
100%.
That means a lot. Thank
100%.
you.
And your history speaks for itself. So people ask, as a head coach, how do you find the balance of deferring between grappling and striking in the middle of a UFC fight?
Well, that's going to be the same answer for when you got to know your guy. We already know what the guy's capability. Did I ever at one point think to myself, even though let's say Michael Bisping is a hell of a grappler, believe it or not, he's pretty good. I mean, like he's just a wiry, just kind of just a fighting mentality. So he'll fight his way or in his way in any position he wants to. But never one time did I say, hey, shoot. I never encouraged. So as far as differential, whether they should make the adjustment to grappling or stand up, we already kind of know where we want to go. It's just a matter if they get stuck at a stand up, like a Mackenzie Dern, for example. She just fought Lupe, what's her name, Gutierrez, in her last fight. Obviously, every game plan we have with Mackenzie Dern is to go to the ground. She's a phenom on the ground. She's levels beyond other people with her grappling, but she gets Lupe's a good wrestler. Her family, her sisters are Olympic level wrestlers. I believe they're competing in the Olympics this year. So she knows how to get back to her feet. She knows how to defend a takedown. She knows that. So now when we're stuck in now we have to be on our feet now, right? We don't have, we're still going to try to get there, but the only way we're going to get there is to be in a better position on our feet and to be able to, in Mackenzie, we're talking about Mackenzie because that's a situation where I'm encouraging my fighter to go to the ground, which is very rarely am I with more of a grappler mentality fighter, and I'm trying to help them put themselves in the best position to get to the ground. And Mackenzie's the one that I have that more experience with. As far as my fighter want to be on the ground, but which we're obviously trying to always gain levels and add wrinkles and get better at the stand-up game here, in the gym, which we got to spend a lot of time to do that. But I think it gets developed even 10 times more in a fight. In a fight is where you really pick up on things and you really take something with you and go home. But, for that fight, for example, I knew we had to stay on our feet. I knew the more we focus on staying on our feet, the more we'd better chance to get her to the ground, which she eventually did get her to the ground with a double leg and in a move that she doesn't even do. You never see Mackenzie has to learn. You have to learn to do both. Let me answer like this. You have to be able to learn to do both. And sometimes, you got to have trust in the guy that's telling you, and I have to be able to read, should he be on the ground or should he be on the top? But again, most of my expertise falls in being on the feet. And that's where I try to guide myself, or my fighters, I should say, the best way I can. But that's a question that a guy sitting on his couch can answer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which every fan answers that question every fight. If I was talking to him, I'd tell him to take him down right fucking now. You know what I mean? Fucking A, dude. These guys idiots. Take this guy to the ground. They don't realize it's not that fucking easy. You know what I mean? It's not that they don't know what they're fucking reading. They're take him to the ground. Fuck, what are you doing? Trying to stand up and exchange with this guy. He's kicking your ass. No shit. No shit.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, making the adjustments from up and down is a lifetime of fucking experience and a lifetime of trying to develop and a lifetime for these guys to learn when they need it. You should know when you're doing well and where you're doing well and where you're not doing well. We're not talking to fighters that are fucking fighting down at fucking Joe Blow's boxing gym down the street and they just the only people that showed up is their family and their cousins and their fucking nephews and shit, and everybody's sitting there and your prize is a fucking pizza and a fucking beer. You know what I mean? We're talking about guys that are fucking trained on the highest levels with the highest coaches, from Olympic wrestlers to national champion jiu-jitsu guys and national champion boxers. And these guys have done this shit. So now we're now you're at the highest level. Like we all know what we're fucking. Goes back to the guy on the couch. Yeah, you could be right. Some people think they're armchair warriors, right? They're the best in the world. They fucking got their armchair right there. They can tell you exactly what you need to fucking do.
100%.
Now do that under pressure. Do that after you just fucking emotionally sacrifice. They say blood, sweat, and tears, whatever you want to say, every day with this kid or with this fighter, and he's doing the same thing. You're in the gym. There's personalities. There's life going on. There's jobs going on. There's money. There's houses. There's cars. There's fucking everything. There's fucking boom. And now you're fucking in front of millions of fucking people, and you're sitting there on your motherfucking couch with your arm up in your motherfucking armchair, your fucking natural light in your fucking hand, drinking a fucking white trash beer. It's oh shit, I probably shouldn't say that. But fucking just saying, dude, this guy's an idiot. Yeah. What are you doing? You're a fucking idiot. Listen, just take him down. You know what I mean? It's fun.
You could say anything you want.
You can say anything you want.
You, Coach Parillo, are one of the greatest coaches to ever be in the UFC. So you, my friend, can do whatever you want when you sit at this table.
Oh, thank you. God bless.
And before we wrap, I do got to say something. Being our most requested guest on the JAXXON podcast, you are the most requested guest that we have. Yes. We've get a lot of requests. We've never got this many requests.
Wow.
So by you being our Rampage, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard.
It's just lying to everybody. Just cut it all out. They're like, hey. You're like, yeah, I know you're 0-2 in the UFC, but everybody wants to fucking hear from you. Bro, everybody's been asking about you. What's your last name again? Exactly, Johnson. Everybody's been asking.
I have to be honest. He's the most requested guest.
It wouldn't be a podcast if he didn't say that.
I mean, listen, it is what it is. This is Jason Parillo. Make sure you guys check him out on Instagram. Make sure you guys understand what he's doing. He's about to have a lot of big moves and a lot of big things happening in the sport of MMA. Listen, this is the JAXXON podcast. Thank you guys for watching.
God bless.